English translation. 453rd contact. Saturday, 14th July 2007, 14:04 hours.
Oh, two of you. And just 2 seconds ago, Ava left to pick up Selina. Both be greeted and heartily welcomed. As usual, you smell nice of lemons.
That is not enough for me, so it feels so good to hug you. Be greeted in this wise also by me now. It is a great pleasure to see you well, even though I can only stay for a short time.
Thank you, but you live dangerously, girl, because I could get used to it, because I feel really safe in your embrace.
Oh, that is a nice compliment.
But this is meant earnestly.
Schwer a noter, ladies' man, rake. Be greeted, my friend.
Tajda, may I ask your age?
That is no secret. I can give my age as 396 years.
Thank you. And you, Ptah, may I ask the age of your daughter Plagia?
Of course, she is 336 years old now, so she is quite a bit younger than my daughter Simya-se. But why do you ask?
Questions always arise from our group about the age of each person in contact with me.
If you want, I can compile a list of everyone you have been in constant or sporadic contact with since the beginning. I could do that in a minute.
I guess that would solve the problem of questions.
It would, yes.
Well, I am going back into my flying machine now to retrieve the data. See you later.
Just a moment, please. For that I can give you a list that Christian Frainer made for me. Then everything is in order. Unfortunately, I do not have it on my computer, but only as a printout in this folder. So, yes, there it is. If you want to take it with you, then you can enter the age for each name. Then, when I have the list in the computer, then I can complete it with your details.
That is good. That helps me. Thank you. Then I will go now. It will take a while.
That's all right, for Ptah and I are sure to have enough for good conversation in the meantime. And you, dear friend, were quick to confide in me as you were leaving on your last visit, that you had something pleasant to tell me on today's visit.
I said that, yes. It is really something joyful because I passed all the Shrut examinations 3 days ago and got the first degree.
Ptah, my dear friend, I am so pleased. Congratulations, my son. This is really a tremendous joy. It is farewell to assume that you will also pass the other 6 degrees in this life, for you still have a few hundred years ahead of you, during which to learn.
Dear friend, Edward, I do not want to hold back with my thanks and express them to you, because a lot is due to your efforts. Because through all your hard work, which you have done for our spiritual leadership, and which I have studied and learned from in its entirety, this step was possible for me in this life. The many thousands of closely written pages that you produced with your old typewriter and with the computer gave me and our spiritual leadership a knowledge that we did not dare to hope for in this life. In this regard, I am also to convey to you all the thanks of all who may use your work.
It was only the fulfillment of my duty. Fine, then you are now Shrut, which ends your Ishvishtum. However, do you still retain oversight of the 3 worlds that you have had under your care? Or does someone else now take over that duty?
Everything remains in my charge as before.
The name Muhammad or Muhammad, does it also have a female form? I am actually not aware of this.
The name also exists with us, whereby the female version is Muhammada or Muhammada. Both forms are frequently used with us. The meaning is the one who is praised.
Then I will integrate the 2 versions into the name book. But what about predictions? Is there anything worth mentioning?
What I can mention is that after the devastating typhoon that hit Japan, a severe 6.9 magnitude seaquake will hit Japan on the northwest coast, causing some deaths and many injuries. Enormous damage is done to human achievements, especially to dwellings and other buildings of all kinds, as well as to roads and bridges, etc., and then a whole series of landslides are triggered by violent rainfall. The seaquake takes place off the coast near Niigata and also shakes inhabited areas of the country.
And this is extraordinary? And where will it be more accurate?
It is indeed extraordinary, because this quake, which, as I said, will also affect the country, will also affect the largest nuclear power plant in the world, Kashiwazaki Kariwa, which will suffer greater and sometimes severe damage and release radioactivity.
Here I am again.
It took a little longer than I thought at first, but I have all the information that relates to the present age of everyone you know and with whom you have had conversations from 1975 to the present, and whom you therefore know personally. Here on your list, I have noted the corresponding age for each name.
Thank you, my child. Yes, I will enter the data noted here into Christian Frainer's list. As soon as I have it in the computer, I have to adjust the whole thing, because he made the list in A4 landscape format, which is no use to me because I cannot use this in the computer and therefore have to make a portrait format out of it. When that is done, I can also integrate it into our conversation report straight away. So I will ask Stefan to put the list into my computer. He is on Sunday duty tomorrow and is also busy with a repair for my computer line anyway, because some things have come up that are constantly interfering with my machine's function. But thanks again for the list.
I was happy to do that.
On this list from Christian, various name meanings are still missing, as well as what became of Ishwish Gospod, aka Allah. So we'll add to the whole thing if you, Ptah, can still tell me. So how old did Gospod get, if you know? And from when to when did he have contact with Muhammad, and why did he call himself Allah?
This is actually all known to me. He lived to be 12-13 years old. He made contact with Muhammad when he was 3 years old, on the 6th of May, 574 AD. The contact lasted until 8th of June, 632 AD, when Muhammad died. The name Allah was given to Gospod simply because it is the Arabic meaning for God.
Muhammad was actually called Abul Qasim Muhammad ibn Abdullah, but in his circles he was called Muhammad Abdullah or Muhammad Abdullah.
This is correct, but it is not common knowledge.
Okay, can you go on with the predictions if you have any left?
Yes, there is still something. In North Korea, nuclear research facilities are decommissioned. While in Libya, regarding the 5 Bulgarian nurses and the Palestinian doctor falsely accused of infecting 400 children with AIDS, the court-imposed death sentences are commuted to life imprisonment.
Accusations of insanity. You said 8 years ago when the 6 were accused of this crime that they were innocent.
Correct. Because I was able to establish at that time through my clarifications, which you asked me to do, that the infection of the children came about otherwise, for which the convicts were not to blame.
So what was the real reason?
Irresponsible negligence of certain persons of the Libyan nursing staff who acted as assistants to the 5 nurses and the doctor. But now hear further what other predictions I have to make. In England and in several countries of Asia, as far as the Far East, there will be unusually heavy rainstorms in the near future. which will cause a great deal of damage, while in the Canary Islands and practically in all the southern to eastern countries of Europe, there will be unusually great heat waves up to 46 degrees Celsius, which will cause hundreds of heat deaths, as well as an unusually large number of forest fires, partly caused by arson by the irresponsible, which will cause immense damage, while at the same time Swaziland will be hit by an unusually severe drought. It will also be extraordinary that the heat and the storms and the forest fires will last for a long time, and therefore for an extraordinarily long time.
You said once the other day, if I remember correctly, that the strength and the number of all types of storms and severe weather had doubled.
That is indeed the case, although this fact has occurred in just under 7 years.
Thank you. Then I have one more question in relation to something else before you give any more predictions, if you have any. You once told me that life on Earth did not originate in water but in the sands of the shores. So life on Earth evolved or emerged in that wise. But it was first brought here from outer space. With regard to thermobacteria, etc., this had already happened millions of years ago, when the Earth was still a ball of embers, but the last 500 million years in particular had been the most decisive with regard to all kinds of great and largest life forms that developed on the Earth. And after that, the last 70 million years in particular were of great importance, during which many comets and meteors and large amounts of space dust, ice and water fell to Earth, bringing with them much bacterial life and amino acids, from which more and more diverse life developed. This is clear to me as far as it goes, but I am interested in what the actual origin of this life was. It would have to have been the chemistry and physical processes of the universe, I think.
Your assumption is correct. The origin and existence of all life owes this to the basic laws of universal chemistry and physics, from which levotartaric amino acids developed fundamentally for the emergence of life itself, which formed and also continue to form the main factor of the biological emergence of life as a whole in universal breadth. From this, it also emerges that every form of life is planetary, chemically, physically conditioned. Consequently, this is also different from planet to planet and has innumerable forms universe-wide and is not necessarily human-like. As you know, and as you were able to see for yourself together with us on your great journey through large parts of the universe on the most diverse worlds.
Yes, I never forget that, all the different life forms, which also included various intelligent ones that were not human-like. I would like to say, however, that despite the very great strangeness, they cannot be called monsters, just as they cannot be called human-like life forms. Some have also developed higher and higher cultures and technologies, which may seem futuristic and fantastic to Earthlings, but nevertheless corresponds to the truth. Many of the alien life forms, however, were of the animal kind, and you let me look at a great many bacterial forms under a device that I would like to call a microscope for the sake of simplicity, because it had such a function, but has no resemblance to the devices we know. It was interesting for me to be able to determine that human life is extremely thinly spread throughout the universe, and that most life-bearing worlds carry life forms that look completely futuristic to Earthlings. And I remember you explaining that human life forms found their widespread expansion in the universe on various occasions only because they created the technical means to be able to emigrate to other worlds through space travel. I also still hear your words today when you said that life forms existed on practically all planets, comets, meteors, and celestial bodies, as well as in the nebulae and gases in the universe, even if, as a rule, they were only bacterial life forms, except on planets. And as you have let me see, such life forms also exist on the moons of our Sol satellites, as well as on these themselves.
You have always been a good listener, which is why your memory is also good. What is taken in with interest, attention, and attentiveness also settles in the memory to such an extent that it can be recalled again and again as a memory.
That is good. If you want to maybe go back to the predictions now.
I see you two are obviously going to be in conversation for some time, which I do not think I can contribute to. So I will go now and leave you alone to walk around the area of the center for a while. Farewell, dear friend. So that had to be. Goodbye, perhaps when we get back from our holiday.
Goodbye, and it was a great pleasure to see you again. Salome girl, take care. And away is the child. Where are you off to, Ptah, if you do not mind me asking? And who's going anyway?
We are going to visit my daughter Sim Yase. She sends her best regards, as do her friends Asket and Nera. We, that means my daughter Plagia, then Florina, Enjana, Taljda, Quetzal, and various others who are known to you, as well as me, and a few others you do not know. Altogether, we are 146 persons.
And how long will you be away? And who will take over the duties in earthly space?
It will be about 3.5 months, until the end of October, because our visit to the DL universe is not only for holidays, but also for a study tour that we will do with the Sonurn. This is necessary in relation to the construction and handling of the various new and very advanced achievements we received from them. The duties regarding Earth will be performed by Federation personnel, persons you do not know. However, perhaps one of them will visit you one day.
So contacts are off for the next 3.5 months. I find it interesting that you use your holiday time to study, to do further education courses, so to speak. That would probably not occur to Earthlings, because, as a rule, they usually think that holidays are a time for lounging around and letting off steam, etc. At least that is the rule, which of course includes exceptions, because there are also human beings in all the countries of our beautiful Earth who, like us in Figu Oz, also fulfill their duties and do the necessary work on holiday and do not just lie around on their lazy skin. Of course, all these holiday workers also allow themselves some free time to pursue their hobbies and pleasures, as well as recreation. But they do not forget the fulfillment of their duties, which they also perform to some extent during their holidays.
We do likewise, for we always and in every case use our holidays to perform certain works and duties which are of importance to ourselves or to our peoples. Our sense of duty demands it in this wise, which is why it would never be apropos for us to devote our holiday time only to senseless idleness. Our sense of shame also does not permit us to dwell in complete idleness, to neglect our learning, or to fail to perform important duties that arise.
It also creates inner satisfaction when an achievement is made instead of just lying around twiddling one's thumbs and indulging in all the evil vices, as many do, for example in Spain. A country where masses of short and long-term tourists drink themselves into unconsciousness, fornicate and behave like pigs, if I may use this term for the lack of manners and morals of these human beings, because the animal pig itself does not know these kinds of out-of-control behaviors.
The whole thing is well known to me and is indeed a disgrace without equal. It is most unfortunate that certain Earth humans should stoop so low as is the case with those you have named.
In my opinion, the behavior of the human beings there in Spain is more than just miserable. Ballerman 6 or so is the name of the place, infamous restaurant, bar, and beach area near town of Palma. Spain, where drinking German tourists flock to, as far as I know, where the human beings behave like the dregs of human society. But let's not go into that, because there is no point in talking about it any further that would be of any use.
It might be possible that one or two human beings might think about it and not be led astray into the evil possibilities that prevail there in Spain.
In all of this, it is incomprehensible to me that the Spanish government and its authorities tolerate the goings-on.
The whole out-of-control behaviors with tourism brings financial advantages to the Spanish state and thus horrendous profits. For this reason, everything is irresponsibly overlooked, and the whole thing is even encouraged.
That is correct. What has come up with your scriptural and linguistic experts regarding my question of selber self and selbst self?
That you only use selbst and always change selber to selbst, even when corrected, is correct according to our experts in the German language. The reason for this is the selbst stands as a reference word for a certain thing or a person, etc., whereby this word emphatically emphasizes that only the one thing or the one person is mentioned, and only this and nothing else or no other human being is meant. The word selbst thus refers to a definite thing or person and expresses objectivity and personality, which, on the contrary, is not the case with the word selber, because the latter is unobjective and impersonal, and thus indefinite. The word selber, say our linguists, corresponds to an atrophied form of the word value and cannot be used in the elevated German language, but only in the vernacular, whereby even in this form it expresses only a generalization, but not a definiteness to a specific thing or person.
In which your linguists are right, for even your father Svath taught me in this wise, as your linguists express it. But let's talk about something else now, like the predictions. Will we still have something of the summer, of which we have not seen much so far as a result of the rainy weather?
The rainstorms, floods, and inundations will continue into August and September, and Switzerland will also continue to be severely affected, as will other countries in Europe and Asia and the whole world. As a result of the severe weather, North Korea will also experience another problem in addition to the enormous floods, namely a shortage of food. But other countries around the world will also suffer, also in terms of floods and forest fires, as in several states in the USA, in Spain, Portugal, and the rest of Europe. There will be a lot of talk about heat and drought in the coming days and weeks, which will also affect Japan, with the heat there alone rising to 43 degrees Celsius. This, however, is already part of the normality of climate change caused by Earth humans, and is therefore no longer exceptional. Although a series of forest fires in the south will be exceptional and will reach the number of 200 fires, because through speculative and corruptive arson, especially in Greece and on the islands, very large and extensive forest fires will be set and also otherwise triggered, whereby outer districts of Athens as well as the Olympic site will be threatened, and the Peloponnese in particular will be affected. In these fires, unprecedented in Greece, some 110 villages will be destroyed, and some 70 human beings will lose their lives. Sicily is also not excluded from criminally set forest fires. A new animal epidemic can be said to be out of the ordinary in Europe in the near future. This is an animal disease which, as blue tongue, infects various agricultural animal species, and whose meat is then no longer edible for human beings. Another unusual event will occur in the first days of August, when England will again be struck by hoof and mouth disease. The extraordinary thing will be that the disease will be released from a central experimental laboratory through negligence. This fact, however, will be denied by those responsible, as is always the case in such cases. Then a severe seaquake of magnitude 7.5 occurs in the sea off Japan, which will shake large parts of the island. Another severe seaquake of magnitude 8 occurs on the 16th of August off the coast of Peru, shaking mainly the cities of Pisco, Chincha, Sinate, and Ica, as well as large parts of the country. Great destruction all around, unfortunately, also causes many hundreds of deaths, the number of which is estimated to be around 700. Furthermore, the Philippines off the main island will also be shaken by a seaquake of magnitude 6.5, as will Taiwan, where the magnitude of the quake will be 6.7. Iraq is also not at rest, but in terms of bombings, as on the 15th of August, a very serious and up to now the largest terrorist attack of quadruple form will take place in the district of Zinjar, costing more than 550 human lives. Affected will be the so-called Yazidis, a religious sectarian minority in northern Iraq whose faith is composed of the tenets of all major religions. This minority is particularly hostile to the Sunnis and the terrorist organization Al-Qaeda. Then, on 6 September, it will be that the Italian star tenor Luciano Pavarotti will pass away, and a week later, Indonesia will be rocked by a series of severe seaquakes, the most serious of which will have a magnitude of 8.8 and will also shake the island of Sumatra. Further quakes also shake other islands, such as Sulawesi, where later in October, the Soputan volcano also erupts. There will also be a 3-meter high tidal wave, which will cause destruction and deaths in addition to the quake forces. And at the end of September, several severe seaquakes will occur in the Pacific, such as a 7.5 magnitude seaquake off New Zealand and another off the island of Guam, which will have a magnitude of 7.1, although in both cases there will be no tsunamis. This will be followed by a volcanic eruption on Jabal Altair, on the so-called Bird Island, with several deaths also to be expected. In mid-September, various countries across Africa will also be hit by heavy rains and floods, which will also cause deaths, and the Sahel zone will also be affected, which corresponds to a particularly unusual event. Then there is an exceptionality in the plateau of Peru, near the border with Bolivia, where a major meteorite strikes, tearing a large crater in the ground and causing hundreds of human beings and animals to fall ill, because the meteorite contains poisonous gases and radiation which emerge from the impact crater. The next extraordinary thing will happen in Burma, where the great mass of all monks will demonstrate against the military junta, joined also by the population. However, the whole desire for democracy will not be successful, because the junta, through its army, will break up the long-lasting demonstration with vicious violence, and there will also be hundreds of deaths, especially monks, who will be thrashed, beaten to death, strangled, and hanged. And of course the whole thing is denied by the violent junta. Then, on 18th October, it emerges that exiled former Pakistani Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto is returning to her homeland to rejoin politics and strive for democracy. Her return, however, will not only cause joy among her supporters, but will also set off suicide bombers, killing more than 140 human beings for the first time and seriously injuring many. And as an extraordinary event, a huge forest and bushfire catastrophe will occur in California, destroying many homes and also causing human beings to lose their lives. Many human beings will have to leave their homes, so that nearly 1 million human beings will have to flee from the fires. These are the predictions I can make until October 28th, after which I may have new things to report when I visit you again on October 29th.
The denial of the truth, as in regard to the hoof-and-mouth disease in England, is a great evil which is peculiar to very many human beings of the earth, that they just cannot stand by their deeds and mistakes and do not bear the responsibility for their actions, work and deeds, but always shift it on others. Also onto the dear God, if they believe in this imaginary figure. Consequently, they only always justify themselves in order to stand there, if possible, with a whiter than just white waistcoat.
Which unfortunately corresponds to the truth. But now my time is up again, so I must take my leave. Farewell, and see you on the 29th of October.
Take care, Ta, and I wish you a nice holiday.
Thank you, dear friend.
See you again then. Take care.